What's up, everyone? Welcome to the North Branch podcast. So my brother and I, this is my brother, Nathan.
What's going on?
My brother and I have been doing these podcasts on Patreon for a while, and we decided to start putting them on YouTube, making them public so everyone can kind of hear our discussions on everything that's going on. We get into greater detail on everything we're building and all of our plans and all that. So I have a couple channel updates I want to get into. I also want to talk about where we've been for the past month because I haven't put out a video for a while. And I want to cover what we're going to be doing for winter content on this channel. But I should probably introduce my brother before I get into that. Some of you probably don't know who he is. He's just kind of...
Or you do. You could. You know,
yeah. Well, this is Nathan. I don't know if I said. He prefers Nate, though.
I don't have a preference. Most people just call me Nate.
Doesn't matter what sound you attribute to.
I have no preference.
But he helps me in the planning. We plan everything out together, and he helps me build when he can. So it's kind of us doing this, and we're the people who are eating what we're growing. So
for the most part, yeah.
Yeah. But getting into it here, we're kind of changing up how we're managing our Patreon and YouTube channel. So Patreon for the past few months has been these podcasts, and I wanted to put all my hunting content on there just because I didn't want to put that on YouTube because of, showing a kill shot, gutting it out, skinning it up. Like, it's all very graphic and there's guidelines and all that. So I didn't want to deal with that. So I'm still going to be putting them on Patreon, but I'm going to be making them public. So that way I don't have to deal with the YouTube guidelines, but you don't have to pay to access the content. You can go over there and see that. Link will be in the description. But we're also going to be putting the podcast on my regular YouTube channel, just so you guys can kind of hear our thought process on everything. We get into greater detail, talk about some stuff we don't really put into videos, and we wanted to share that with you all. Patreon is just going to be a place where, like I said, you can see the hunting videos. They're going to be public, but it's just a place where if you want to support the channel, there's a pathway to do that. I've had some people ask how they can support the channel, so it's still going to be Patreon. I might put some other, bonus content over there in the future, something like that. But for now, we're going to be putting podcasts on here, making the hunting videos public, and then I might put some other videos on there in the future. Still trying to figure all that out.
Yeah, and as of right now, there's one hunting video over there. It was really well done. So if you want to check that out,
and that's public too. So yeah, you can see that, and link will be in the description below.
And also now that we're doing podcasts on here, if you have questions, drop them in the comments, and this is kind of where we'll answer those.
And we'll answer those in the next episode. And I'm going to set up an email for the podcast where you can email us questions if you wanted to do it that way. But yeah, any questions in the comments, we'll answer them in the next one. We'll always set aside a part of the podcast to get into that.
Yeah, so that's pretty much it. You want to where we've been?
Yeah,
where you've been?
Yeah. So I put one video out this month, I think, something like that.
It's a very hectic month because we had a heat wave for us come through. It was like 50s and 60s.
Yeah.
Which is,
we built the greenhouse. That's where we've been, and it was kind of crazy because we were planning on doing it next year, and then we were just kind of looking at the forecast, and we were like, well, we're gonna have 2 weeks here, like, you think we can get it done? And then we were like, yeah, no problem. But then 2 days into it, we were like, yeah, no shot, we're getting this done.
We cut it close, but we got it done. We cut it close. I mean,
no, it's I'm really happy with the way it turned
honestly
out.
If painting wouldn't have taken so long, we would have got it done.
Painting took
in a week.
Well, and digging the foundation.
Well, I didn't dig the hole, so yeah.
We had to do it in the heat wave because we needed to dig out the ground to level it off, and the paint needed a certain temperature to not freeze and all that.
To dry, yeah.
So painting and digging out the hole for that thing took
painting was
a long time.
I thought painting was gonna be like a day or two. We painted for a week.
I know. I thought I was gonna get that done in like a day.
Yeah.
And then the last day that was warm, I was out there with a flashlight getting it done at night, like 3 hours.
But it is done.
Night.
We did. I mean, we completed it.
Yep.
The hour to spare, because that night, at midnight, the cold air came
when I was
in,
done. When I literally, right when I got done, it was cooling off.
So,
but
that thing's awesome. We're gonna have. We do plan on. It's gonna take us some time to put all that together, or Evan, and then we'll be releasing that in a couple months. A lot of stuff, a few videos on that. So
we built a pole barn earlier this year, and I recorded everything from start to finish. And the greenhouse we just built has like way more clips to go through, which is crazy. So that's going to be quite the task to edit, but I'm starting that, and I'll be releasing them when it kind of all wraps itself up. But yeah, the greenhouse is 12 by 16 feet. We went with a different plastic this time, and we just got a huge snowfall, so we're kind of seeing how everything sheds, and it's shedding really well. So I can't complain with how it turned out.
The new greenhouse, the snow actually shed off that quicker than our old A-frame, which I would not have guessed because the A-frame is a lot steeper. Yeah, but this new plastic isn't corrugated. It's double. It's air gapped. Mm-hmm. So there's double insulation. But it's flat. It's not corrugated, so the snow is actually shedding off that a lot better, even though it's not as steep. So I mean, so far we're pleased with how the greenhouse is doing, and it's warmer in there too. It's 20-some degrees Fahrenheit out right now, and it's pretty warm in there.
Yeah,
you can see it's got a little steam brewing. So
yeah, so that's our fourth greenhouse now. We built 3 this year, and we had 1 from an earlier year. And
a lot of cold frames. So
and we were talking about how we wanted the first year out here to be like building, focus completely on setting up all the infrastructure for the coming years. And like I said, we have 4 greenhouses now. I built that whole garden from scratch this year. We have chickens, a chicken run. We have all the stuff for meat chickens or some other animals if we do that. We expanded our orchard. And we built a pole barn too. I always forget about that. But so we have pretty much a blueberry patch. So if year 1 was about building, next year is going to be about growing and focusing completely on growing as much food as we can and harvesting it and preserving it. And we said that we're going to run into a project we have to build or something, because we always say that, and then something will come up.
Well, we'll have to build something. I mean, if we don't know if we're going to do meat chickens again, but if we run meat chickens, we're going to do it in a chicken tractor,
right? Something,
and try to do them solely on food scraps that we're getting, because the biggest hurdle for us is we have a lot of pasture, or we're going to, so it makes more sense to do sheep and cows, so we don't have to buy feed,
right? But we're always going to have something to build for something. And we didn't plan on getting meat chickens this year, but then it just ran to spur of the moment. We just got them and figured them out. But
if we do it, we want to have it built before our
that's what I was going to say. Yeah. For next year, our goal is to have anything built, especially now that we have a barn, maybe something we could build outside when it's colder. But we want to have everything built before we start seeds inside, or start at least transplant them outside before we get all the raised beds sowed.
We'll have a month when everything thaws before we really plant to build. But then once our last frost hits, we're going to focus solely on growing.
Right, especially with only having 3 months
to see how much to maximize what we have for our infrastructure, because that's then we'll really know how much food we can produce.
Right, and how much we need.
We'll know moving forward if we need to expand it or not. I think we have enough infrastructure. We need to do a couple potato beds because we need more potatoes, but for the most part, we have a lot of beds, a lot of greenhouses now, a lot of chickens. I mean, we got to see how much they can produce.
Right. I'm excited. It's crazy. It feels so far away because winter just hit and all that, but it's literally February, March. We'll start getting after it, and we'll have a video. We started our plans already, but we'll have a video with our specific plans and goals for next year coming out soon. And that's a good forum for a podcast is a good forum for that, because there's a lot to cover.
Great forum.
Perfect forum. I would say. But besides that, this last month I've been deer hunting a lot, and venison and deer hunting is a huge part of how we plan to be sustainable up here, because our long-term goals for this homestead and what we're building here is to get all of our food from our land. And we live on 200 acres out here. Most of it's forest. I think we're on the part that I use for my channel here is 3 acres, 4 acres.
It's 5 technically.
Well, it's zoned out 5, but most of it's woods.
Yeah, I don't know.
So it's a couple acres to a few acres, and then we have the rest of it is just forests. So there's a lot of deer running around, and I love hunting. So it's just kind of one of those things where once the season comes around, it's just very time. It requires a lot of time. You got to be in there. You got to get your hours in to really get a deer, especially with a bow.
Well, that's another thing too with why we're trying not to build next year is because the building interrupted the hunting season a lot too. Right. But that was kind of a little bit out of our control because the warm weather wasn't the best for hunting anyway. Right. So
and then we crammed that greenhouse in when we had a warm stretch. So then I was just kind of out of the woods for a while. But that's where I've been. And I actually just got a buck. We just got it processed and in the freezer. So I'll make a video. I'm working on that video. That'll be on Patreon soon. But we got a buck with a bow. Rifle season is coming up here, and that's when we really stock up the meat in the freezer. And so that's where we've been the past month. And we got a puppy. We got little Bodie, and there's just a bunch of other stuff going on. And it wasn't just a bunch of stuff going on that wasn't gonna make a video, but I think now that we're done with the greenhouse and hunting's kind of once rifle's done, that'll cool down a little bit. So like once that's all passed and we have all that meat in the freezer, I think we'll start getting back to our normal content schedule. And that kind of brings me to the next point we want to talk about, which is what we're going to do in the winter for our channel, because we're a gardening homestead channel and winter is tough up here in northern Wisconsin.
Yeah, there's already 3 inches on the ground.
Yeah,
snow,
there's a lot of snow. It's a lot of cold, and actually there's actually a lot that's going to be going on this winter. So like there's still going to be some videos, like some live videos that where I'm doing kind of a normal thing. Like I still have a lot of carrots and a lot of things I want to harvest. We're keeping track of all of our greenhouse temperatures throughout the winter, and we're going to
we tried to I mean,
some of them are skewed though.
We were, but then it got so warm that it was unseasoned, because I was really curious how the greenhouse handled the 40 degree temps, because that's not ideal for growing, but 40 degrees should be about 50 or 60 in the greenhouses. But we basically had no days of 40s, and it was 60s, and then now it's freezing. It's like 20. So I mean, we're still tracking them, but like,
and the geese tore a hole in our cattle panel greenhouse. They ripped a huge hole in the door and in the side, so it kind of threw those readings off a little bit.
Yeah, so because that was the one we doubled. We put a cold frame inside of a greenhouse.
But yeah, there's still a lot of work to do with the greenhouse and harvesting a bunch of stuff. And I'm gonna set up like our winter composting system with like moving all that in for the chickens. So there's still stuff like that's going on. We're logging. Our land is in a managed forest land program. So what that means is the state kind of controls how much, or at least they kind of have a say in how much we log, when we log, our logging schedule, all that sort of thing.
Yeah, it's to prevent clear cutting, because people were just clear cutting everything and then selling it for farmland.
Well, what the deal is, they kind of control that, but they give you a break in taxes, so you can kind of own it more. And then the idea is it preserves forests, and they kind of it gives them a
because if you had to pay full
sustainable forestry, all that sort of thing. And because what people were doing is they would just log, they would cut trees to pay for the taxes, and then by that time, like a few years go by, then you have no forest left. So
tillable land sells for more than forested. So people were buying forested land, clear cutting it, getting the money from logging, and then turning it into tillable land and selling it.
Right.
They're just flipping it.
Right.
So
anyway, our plan through these forest programs was coming up for logging this year, and then a tornado hit earlier, which knocked a bunch of trees down, so we kind of rewrote it just to include all of our land to kind of get that all cleared out to take care of the storm damage. And there was an emerald ash borer, which is
found it here. Yeah, I mean, they've been saying our whole life basically that it was going to come, but now I guess it's here. So
apparently, it's in our county.
It's in our county now.
So they're taking out all the storm damage, like a lot of the ash trees that are going to die anyway, apparently, and like all the nice big trees anyway to give clear space for the smaller trees. So a lot going on there. It's actually going to clear out a lot of space around our garden and orchard and this whole area we're at, because it's all ash trees and like ironwood and all this stuff. So they're going to be clearing out like a huge area for us up here by our house. So that's where it kind of comes into next year with if we're going to get animals.
Pasture. Next year we're gonna have to figure out how to turn those into pastures.
Yeah, that's a big thing.
We haven't decided how we're gonna do that yet. If we want to go the pig route or what.
I'm gonna have to do a lot of research this winter.
We can't really make decisions until we know exactly how much is cleared. Right. So, but that's all happening this winter.
Right. So yeah, it's gonna be a completely different.
And we got lucky too, because loggers are so backed up from the tornado and the ash borer. But one of the loggers that bid it out was right next door, so he gave us a good bid, so he didn't have to get his equipment out. So we should be done by March, whereas in a lot of the bids we're saying like June, July, August of
before they
next
even
year,
got in
before they got in here.
Yeah.
And at that point, a lot of the logs from the tornado would have been rotten, or not rotten, but wouldn't have been premium certified lumber at that point, because we can sell our lumber certified because it's in the program. So if it would have sat for a year, it would have been a year sitting at that point. I don't know if it would have been certified.
Yeah, we got really lucky.
So we got lucky.
Our logger, he's right next door, like our neighbor, and then as soon as he's done, he's jumping over the property line to start on ours on Monday.
Yeah, I don't like to log, but
no, it's sad.
But
at least they do it in sustainability.
Yeah, it's sustainable,
it's
but
not like clear cutting it.
A lot of it's out of our hands this time, because the tornado and the ash, you got to get them out of there, and then we'll get some nice pasture on the backside of it. So I wanted pasture.
Yeah.
So this will be a good way to go about it, but we can't just turn it into pasture because it's in the program. So this kind of things worked out for us.
Yeah, we're kind of filling up all of our available space up here with especially with this greenhouse. Now we were going to build it in the woods, like kind of on the edge of the woods. But we put it right by our house up here, and then we dug all the soil out that I dug. We probably should have talked about this earlier, but we took all the soil out all the soil that we dug out of the earth of a hill. I had to level it out into a hill. That's why it took so long. But I took all that soil and I made some berms on the hill that it's on to kind of section off some more areas for some trees and whatever we're going to do. And I think we'll kind of talk about this in our plans, but I think we're going to do a hugelkultur right there. Yeah. Because I was walking through the woods on hunting. I don't think I've told you this yet, but there was just so many piles of tops.
Oh, I'm sure.
That I'm just going to swing back there and throw them. I could fill up my truck and get a hugel started in like an hour.
The only thing we're running into now is we're out of soil.
Yeah, we had
I don't want to buy soil. Yeah. Man. We live in the woods, man. Yeah. Paying money for soil seems so contradictory.
Our house here is built into a hill, and there was a huge soil pile
from the excavation of the original. Yeah. I mean,
we've gone through
our basement basically over there.
Yeah, literally.
We've gone through it pretty much, but I don't know. We got to build a few more potato mounds.
And we need some more soil too.
I don't know if we need hugels, but I think it'd be cool if we put a hugel there.
It would be really cool.
They're berms because also it stops the water flow. We were a little worried about the water flow because right. You know, we don't have gutters, so we have now our house and our pole barn collects on our driveway basically and washes down the one side. We're trying to move it elsewhere, but
runs into the hill.
It would have ran right basically into our greenhouse. But now we have those berms, and the water went around the berms. They worked.
Yeah, there's a couple of rainy days we were looking at. Yeah,
they did. The berms worked to keep our greenhouse foundation, from washing out. So that's cool. It's cool when you see stuff like that work. But that took a lot of soil too. But that was kind of a push from what you dug out for the greenhouse. But then we still have a little bit extra that you dug out, and then but that's it.
Nothing close to what we need for next year.
A couple
so
raised
we're gonna
beds,
have to figure that out. I might just start digging once it gets warm out, and then just see how much I can dig in like a day or a couple days or something. I don't know. We'll see. But all that's gonna be going on. I also have some tasks that I can get done in the pole barn. Now that we have that, I can kind of build some stuff out there. Like one day I have to go out here during the winter, and I'm just going to collect as many sticks as I can and make like trellis posts out of them. Because that's what we use for our aromas and a couple other smaller plants that needed trellises like that, like my peppers. Yeah. And I always get them too small because I move them. I trellis them up when I like put the starts out there or when they're smaller plants, and then they just outgrow them, and then it's just
you always forget. You think that you wouldn't do it. Like this is our 5th year really growing food. You'd think you'd be like, but it's just I don't know. You always forget.
And then by the time they overrun them or outgrow them, I'm kind of so busy with stuff. And then
and once they're at that size, you can't really slip it out.
Exactly. Yeah, right. So I'm gonna go out, make hundreds. I'm gonna try to get as many as I can and just get them all ready for next year. So there's a bunch of stuff like that I can do. I'm sure I'll come up with some more stuff. I want to make a chicken log feeder. We have a bunch of logs and we need some more feeders for our chickens. And you made a video about that on your channel.
It was just a great video.
And I was gonna make one as a competition, but I just got swamped with stuff. So I'll do that there's stuff like that. They do
like that feeder though. It's funny. They like
it's perfect.
That feeder.
And those things are like $30-$40, like for plastic ones. And then we just had a log laying around. So
we have a lot of logs laying around too.
So there's always stuff like that, and then there's going to be a lot of compilations and like recaps. I don't know, talking about like mistakes I made, things I learned, stuff I'm going to do different next year, a bunch of stuff like that, and some compilations. Like I'm going to make a video about everything I built using logs, and that might take a week straight of editing. Like every video I feel has something with logs, but that's gonna be so cool. Like I'm really excited to see that. But
you did a lot, so kind of there'll be some videos covering all that. I mean it really is. That's basically the garden area was a lawn last year.
Yeah.
So
this year there'll
be some
6
videos
months
on
ago.
That, and then you wanted to do a video about some things you learned or mistakes you made. Mm-hmm. If things you would have done different, because there's always things you would have done different,
Right. And then we'll be doing these podcasts a lot, talking about any of that sort of thing, going more in detail.
If there's any podcasts you want to see, throw it in the comments.
Yeah, I'd love to hear them. We talked about, we did a podcast earlier about the history of our family land. I think that was like the first podcast we ever did, or one of them at least. And that's on Patreon. So we're probably going to redo that now and just put it on here.
Yeah. Because we'll, make it into a video. So it's not just a blank screen with audio.
Yeah,
and I'm sure we'll be better. We could just I'm
sure we'll be better too at podcasting.
Because we've had this land for over 100 years now. So it's
Our family moved here from Europe.
We haven't been on the land for 100 years, but it's been in our family. So there's a little bit of backstory to it and how we came over here.
Right.
And our story, how our story intertwines and all that.
Yeah. A lot to get into. So that'll be a cool one. But yeah, we were talking about it, and it seems like winter's really long. We're trying to plan out like a content schedule and all that, and then like
winter is long.
Well, it is. But like it's already December almost, and then like after hunting it's December, and then like January, February, and then you're getting back to it.
After the holidays, it doesn't take long. You're starting seeds after the holidays, and then we've been talking a lot ad nauseum about the greenhouse. But that's just the reality of how we grow. And if, our channel will probably be most helpful to people that grow food in the north. But even if you're, in like Ohio, there's always, people can always extend their season. But we're going to be putting a lot of content together about extending the season. And we're going to start releasing that in the spring, like February-ish. There's the greenhouse that we just built. Obviously, we'll have a bunch of stuff on that. But then now we've built, 2, 3, 4, 5. I built one before he even got up here. I built 2 greenhouses before he got up here.
And then you rebuilt one.
And I rebuilt one. So I've built 5, and they all had different foundations. So we're going to make videos talking about the different greenhouse foundations, what we liked and what we didn't like, pros, cons. The different plastics. We've used 3 different plastics now. We'll have videos talking about all those different plastics, how they work. Pros, cons, building with them.
Roof structure. I don't know how to say that. But
different layouts, because we built the cattle panel. We built an A-frame. We built a traditional frame. Now we built a hoop.
Yeah.
Well, I guess the cattle panel is a hoop, but
but
anyway, we're gonna put videos about all that foundations.
Yep.
I said that already. But we're gonna have
a lot of stuff for the greenhouses we're gonna get into, and like you said, we've built a few different types now, and there we can really start doing pro cons, talk about how they handle this winter, especially because apparently it's supposed to be a cold one, so this will be a good test for everything.
Well, like we've had that hoop greenhouse has been through 5 winters now, and it's still standing up. And they said you had to change the plastic every 3 years. We haven't had to change it. I haven't changed it once.
I put that on 3 years ago, I think.
Oh yeah, you did change it.
So we'll see.
Did we take the plastic out?
I thought I had to rebuild it.
Oh yeah, so that stuff let's figure out. But anyway, we're gonna have a lot of greenhouse content coming up. We're gonna kind of work on that over the winter.
Yep.
Because that's probably the things we have the most experience with, and the things that we deal with the most that we think could help other people.
And it's just so necessary up here. Like
it's necessary up here. It's necessary anywhere though. Anyone can grow unless you're in like Florida. But even if you're in Florida or Arizona, you can use these techniques to put shade cloth on them.
Right. It definitely helps everyone, but like for us, if you're trying to grow all your own food, like a greenhouse is so helpful because it get like that extra weeks or whatever, however many you get, like on both ends, like that's such a big difference. And we're gonna really pare down on what we grow. We'll talk about that. But we're gonna try to. It's so tough whenever you start ordering seeds to not be like, man, let's get an eggplant. Well, you end up just getting a million different varieties of the stuff you are gonna grow, like potatoes. Like we were like, we're not getting eggplant anymore, but we're doing 4 different types of potatoes.
We're gonna start learning how to can more. We're canning jams so we can can our blueberries and things like that. We're gonna grow way more butternut squash. Fewer cucumbers.
Try to grow as much of food that stores for a long time as we can. Because it's all about just getting through the winter.
We grew an eggplant this year. We'll probably put the kibosh to that.
A bunch of stuff like that.
It was cool, but it just doesn't get hot enough here to get enough. So we had like 2 eggplants off the plant and
taking up space in the greenhouse. That could be peppers or other food that we love.
But we're improving some skills because that's the thing. This year was really about infrastructure. Even though we've been growing, we've been more hobbyists, I guess, up to this point.
Weekend gardeners.
This year was real. Evan was able to do it, full scale.
We really built this place up in 6 months. Like we just had an orchard with a few apple trees, and now it's kind of like that plus chickens plus garden plus blueberry patch plus a pole barn now
plus geese. Plus a lot of greenhouses. How many? We built 3
plus
greenhouses?
3 greenhouses.
3 greenhouses.
So we should be producing a lot of food next year, and then hopefully that gets us pretty close to being sustainable. I'm really curious to see if we really do grow how much we're planning on, how far that would take us, and like if we need to expand anymore.
Yeah, especially if we learn how to can. I think that would be that's the biggest downfall. I mean,
well, we bought another huge freezer too because we thought we weren't gonna be able to get our meat chickens in there, but they didn't take up that much space.
Well, it wasn't even for the meat chicken. It was mostly for the blueberries.
But it's most like meat chickens and then 4 or 5 deer a year, and then like all the fruit we're gonna get because we have grapes, applesauce.
I think at a base we have to assume we're gonna get 5 deer. I think the goal should be to get 5 deer.
Yeah, probably 4.
5 deer, 2 sheep, quarter of a cow.
Oh, I mean, if we start ordering, if we
well,
start
I guess we have sheep and
animals,
cows, we have to do fewer deer.
If we start raising animals, we'll be there, no problem.
But I mean, but my biggest thing is we have over 100 blueberries now, and at their maturity in 5 years, they'll be producing 5 pounds per bush. So that's 500 pounds of blueberries, and that should be conservative.
Low end, right?
It should be more than 5 pounds.
Right.
So we have to learn how to can, because that's kind of where that 500 pounds of blueberries plus 5 deer plus a couple sheep plus quarter cow, you got to learn how to can. I mean, there's just,
I mean, who knows if we get a cow, but no, any animals for sure. But a lot of freezer.
We've been looking into canning jams without sugar.
Yeah.
Because we don't, I mean, I don't want to eat sugar. We're trying to avoid
That's
the sugar.
a good podcast. We got to do one about why we're trying to homestead and why we're trying to live this life. Because there's a lot to get into.
Sounds
there. But
great.
But
if there's any other topics too, like you want to cover,
please let us know.
The podcast, you said you want the podcast is going to be more viewer driven.
Yeah.
Not just our thoughts. I mean, not our ramblings.
A little mixture of both, I'm sure. But so I'm sure I missed some stuff, but there's a lot going on this winter. I'm still going to have a lot of videos coming out.
Yeah. I thought it was going to be harder than it's going to be.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot. We were talking about videos just of things we've learned, and then some greenhouse stuff, and then the logging. I mean, honestly, I think you might have more videos than when we were doing things, because you're
right.
When you're like growing, like it's just harder to, sometimes it's harder to film when you're actually doing a lot of things.
Right. And then we'll be having the videos come out from this greenhouse we just built too. So then like all that will kind of take care of itself and get us into the spring. And then
the greenhouse is awesome. I really hope. I mean, I'm excited to put that out. We're gonna take our time and edit it right to do it justice.
Right.
But that thing's cool. It's the coolest thing I've ever done in my life.
We built that thing like. Yeah. We built it right, like concrete foundation, framed up the walls.
Yeah, it was our first concrete work. We're very we're not masons. We're very amateur masons.
She's standing though, but she's holding the snow.
I think we didn't add quite enough water in, but I don't know. Maybe I'm just wrong on that. I don't know. Either way,
we'll see.
Mean, if anything ever happened to that foundation, we can jack it up and re-pour. But I don't think it will. I think it's fine. I think it's just whatever. But
and then we framed up the walls and painted it all.
Yeah.
And then we have cedar. We should probably
our cousin bailed us out big time. Our cousin John has a mill down at our old family farm.
And they had a bunch of cedar trees from their old property before they moved out here, just laying around, and they gave us
from a couple miles away.
I can't even call it a deal.
It's cool, it's cool that we trimmed it out in cedar that was 2 miles away. I think that's cool.
Yeah.
That it happened that way.
Yeah, he milled it up.
But he saved us, because we were we were gonna trim it out in cedar and just buy it from the store, but we couldn't have done that because it was way more cedar than we originally envisioned it was gonna be.
And cedar was more expensive than we were thinking. Yeah.
I mean, it just wouldn't. You'd have to be a billionaire, man.
Yeah. Cedar's crazy.
So he had the cedar and milled it, and it was more reasonable.
Something else just came to me. So he actually offered to mill up some trees for us if we take them out there. So if we cut down any trees and have them milled up, because cedar trees, apparently if you log them, they're worthless
up here. Yeah, because the cedar in the store comes from the Northwest. Ours is more mangly.
Yeah, I'm not sure how it works.
You don't get as long logs out of them.
Apparently, you have to pay the people to take your cedar trees, because that's how little it's worth, and with the effort and getting trucks back there, whatever, it literally it's a net loss by the time they get the trees out of the woods.
Yeah.
So we were thinking about whatever we have back there, maybe milling up some trees and then having some wood supply on hand, and then if we ever need to build anything, we can just take that out real quick. So that's something.
But we have one big poplar that they didn't include in the what, I don't know, what's it called,
the plan,
the plan, whatever, the forester's
the marking
plan.
That didn't get marked for cutting.
We might mill that, and then my dad, our dad, said that he's gonna keep out some oaks and some maple. He's gonna buy those back before they skin them off from the logger, and then have our cousin mill those.
Yeah, so that'll be a winter project too. So there's going to be a lot going on.
I don't know what he wants to do with those. But I mean,
we can figure it out. There'll be a lot.
I guess
going
it's
on.
just because the tornadoes. There's the price for maple and oak isn't very high right now, so I think he's going to keep them and sell them later, maybe.
Yeah, I'm not.
But he might mill some to whatever. But either way, we'll have some.
Yeah, we're gonna mill up some trees and
we're gonna try to this year. If we do build things, I'm sure some things will come up, but whatever. If we build things, we're gonna try to build with our own lumber as opposed to going to the store and buying lumber.
Yeah, especially now that we have access to a mill, like he can just.
We always had a mill, but it was kind of a pain.
Yeah, well, it wasn't here, so we had to take them, and then it was a bad mill, and then it's just, I don't know.
This mill is awesome. Man.
Yeah,
that thing is.
Well, this thing's legit. He knows what he's doing. So
operator. Yeah, he knows what he's doing.
Well, and he was a logger before, so like. I think he has legit mills and logging equipment, but I was thinking that winter would be.
Me too.
I don't want to say chill or just kind of nothing to do. I guess that's what I was thinking, but like now it's kind of like the same old. You just keep. I
just thought for a YouTube channel because I've done it before.
Tiny Hilltop.
What's up? I thought it's harder to come up with videos that were worth making.
Right, not a waste of your time.
Be like, hey, it's snowing. Check out the snow. But I don't think that's the case. We're gonna have it's gonna be a very busy winter.
Mm-hmm.
Next winter, if all goes well, it'll be a little bit slower, but that'll be cool because we'll have a ton of food storage. I mean, if we don't have a ton of food storage next winter, we're done because we can't do it. You know. Yeah, that's just. But I mean,
there should be no excuses next year.
Next winter we should have. Well, we got to build shelves too. Like that's.
We're gonna build up all that.
We've been drawing up plans in our minds and talking about how we're gonna do our food storage, because we're framing up the basement and we framed up a utility room or whatever, and we're gonna put a pantry in there.
Oh yeah, that's another thing we did this month. Yeah. We framed up the basement because like with this pole barn we built that got done 2 months ago now, something like that. And everything that's in that barn right now, and that barn's full, plus with my truck and a van in there. But that barn is like pretty filled up with all the tools and junk, and all that stuff was in the basement like literally 2 months ago. So for 5 years, it took me so long just to drag all that out there, and let alone get the shelves built and organize it and all that. So we got that done, and then the basement was kind of getting cleaned out a little bit. So we framed up some walls, like there's plumbing in there for a bathroom, so we're going to try to get it finished off to the best of our ability, and then
we'll probably just frame and then bring in some pros.
I probably have to bring in someone who really knows what's going on to.
But anyway, so we're gonna put up some shelves for our canned food storage.
Right, we framed off half of it's pretty much a utility room and bathroom, and then the other half of it is like a bedroom area, like an office area, and then there's like a mudroom for like hunting stuff, and then there's like a smaller living room to hang out down there. But part of the utility room is there's still some storage, some stuff that couldn't go out into the pole barn, but we're going to try to really knock that down during this winter, sell as much as we can and get rid of what we can, go through it all. It's all really old stuff. My dad's
convince our father to stop being a hoarder.
Yeah. But most of it's like trophies from baseball and stuff. Like,
I mean, I have a lot of trophies. So that takes up like 3 shelves.
We were too good at sports to have a small.
We should
utility
melt those down like in the Patriot and make bullets out of them. Dude.
Yeah, some musket balls.
I would just throw those away if it was up to me. But our father,
we'll try to
tied to that stuff.
We'll try to figure some of that stuff out and really get that cleaned up, and then we move the freezers in there, and then we have like the area kind of picked out, and we're walking through designs right now to kind of get some shelves framed out and built to hold all of our canning and put all of our squash and potatoes and onions, all of that stuff down there, and then just have a dedicated area and dedicated room to food storage.
I think eventually down the road you're gonna have to dig out, maybe that's how we'll get soil, you're gonna have to dig a root cellar somewhere.
That'd be a cool project.
But for now, we'll just have we'll always be able to put cans. Cans are shelf stable, and potatoes, they just won't last as long. Because our basement's heated, but it is a little bit cooler. But it's not like that old. It's a modern basement, so it's not. But we're gonna have to build shelves. So it's 2 freezers, at least a huge shelves for canned goods.
Yeah, that'll take us a long way, and then we can add anything else next year probably if we need to. Root cellar is interesting though. Maybe we should do that.
Well, you're gonna have to eventually. You're gonna have to for potatoes if you really want to make a run at it. Potatoes and carrots. You're gonna have to do like an earth bag, something like that. Doesn't have to be huge. But yeah,
yeah, maybe
because you're gonna want your potatoes and probably squash and carrots. You can probably put carrots and apples down there. Because that's another thing that I don't like. I still don't think you comprehend this. I don't think I comprehend it. But we're gonna have so many apples when those things reach maturity.
Yeah, that's actually crazy.
I mean, we have 20 apple trees right now. We're gonna probably plant 5 a year. I mean, because why not?
I think we have more than 20, and then more fruit trees on top of that.
There's really no point. There's no point of not planting a couple of apple trees every year.
Yeah, some are dying.
Relative to cost, and some are always gonna die, and
yeah, once you have an orchard, you just expand it a little bit.
The only hard part is the space, but now we're gonna have even more space because they're logging.
That's everything that we built here is getting expanded with this logging.
So anyway, but I think you're gonna need
So we'll talk about all this in our planning. We'll have a lot of podcasts coming up. So like we said earlier, put any questions you have in the comments and we'll answer them in the next podcast. We'll set aside a time to get those covered, and any topics you want to see covered potentially, let us know. And we're going to start doing these regularly. I'll put hunting videos on Patreon. I just shot a buck during archery, so I'm getting that video done and putting that out. So yeah, all that's going on Patreon, making it public, and we'll be doing podcasts on my regular YouTube channel going forward. So thank you.